Thank you very much for joining us. You're watching the interview segment. I am your host, Marianne Bogo. Now today we're talking about medical law. That is the link that arises between medicine and the laws of the land. And our guest today is Professor Kiama Wangai, who is a medical lawyer. Will be letting us know a bit about what this field is all about. Professor, Daktari, Wakili, all of those things. Karibu sana.
Nashukuru.
So before we go into the flesh, you wear very many hats to be able to be called a medical lawyer. You wear several hats. You teach, you practice law, I think you are a member or a official of the LSK. Tell us a bit about these hats that you wear.
Well, I was initially trained as a doctor at the University of Nairobi. That's where I did my first degree, MBCHB. I then did my internship at the Kenyatta National Hospital. Medicine takes like 5 years, and internship is a year.
Yeah, 6 years.
I was then registered as a medical doctor by the Medical Practitioners and Dentist Board. From there, I was posted to the District Hospital, where I worked for around 4 months. I then practiced privately medicine for around another 6 years or thereabouts. Then I joined law school, that's Parklands, in the University of Nairobi for a Bachelor's of Law degree, which I cleared. I then did my pupillage, which is mandatory in the legal fraternity. I was admitted to the bar, or what we call to the bar, and therefore changed from a lawyer to an advocate. I have since, of course, done my master's in medicine, master's in medicine in human pathology. This is something to do with forensic work, causes of death, murder cases, doing postmortems to identify what have gone wrong, etc. I've done my master's in law, in medical law now, University of South Africa. I have a fellowship from the UK, a fellowship from the US. So basically, I then did practice medicine. I ran my law firm as an advocate, Kiama Wangai and Company Advocates. We take up medical negligence cases. In particular, that's our 80% practice. And I teach at the university. I'm a teacher at Egerton University Medical School.
So you teach medicine?
I teach medicine, so I teach doctors. But I practice law. Yes, I practice law. Professionally, I am a member of Kenya Medical Association. I'm also a member of the Law Society of Kenya. In that that society, I am the convener of Medical Legal Practice Committee of the Law Society of Kenya.
Right. Extremely widely read.
Thank you.
And very, very interesting specializations. And I must say, when I was doing the research on this field and on you, is it true that you're the only medical lawyer in this country and in the region?
I guess if you're to find a pure medical lawyer, you probably find one maybe in South Africa.
There isn't any other. So it's definitely a field that has not been explored.
Yes, because it's quite a terrain to get the requisite skills to be able to carry the title medical lawyer. Then you've got to go to get the requisite knowledge, and it takes quite some years.
Yeah, it takes a long time.
And you need passion and conviction and a belief in something.
All right. So when you talk about medical law, what are we talking about? I mean, we hear cases of, people suing their doctors for this and the other. And I guess all of those fall within medical law. But for you who studied it, what are we talking about? What falls within this field?
Medical law is not about suing doctors.
And ambulance chasers.
It's not about that. It is not about pursuing doctors. That would be a very narrow definition of medical law. Medical law is the law that governs healthcare practice All right, it's because in all spheres of human society, you must have law. So the law that guides healthcare practice, the parties in the healthcare industry, the doctors, the nurses, hospital administrators, hospital equipments, the finance of healthcare industry, the ambulances, anything health, the law around it is medical law. Yes. So about medical negligence and malpractice law is just an iota.
Very small part of it.
Of what medical law is.
Which is a lot of what we hear.
That's what people think. You see, you think medical is about being doctors.
Yeah,
not
but
really.
it's not.
There are many cogs in the healthcare industry that requires to be wired together by a body of knowledge called health law, medical law.
Medical law.
Yep.
All right. So we talk of, say, cases of confidentiality. Those are the cases we hear most about. Issues of consent problems, issues of negligence. Can you tell us now from your practice as a lawyer, how do these cases, give us examples of some of the cases that fall under these categories, like an issue of confidentiality?
You see, I hear you. Consent, confidentiality, and negligence. We'll need quite some time to discuss each of them. However, if I am asked in one sentence what they mean, consent refers to what the permission that the patient allows the healthcare provider to be able to examine them and treat them. The consent, the agreement, the contract, the consultation. What is the philosophical basis of consultation? It's called consent. Examine me here. Because ordinarily, if I'm to examine you just now, you just sue me very fast, isn't it? Because I have no consent to attempt to examine you. So consent allows me, you tell me, Daktari, I have pain here. I now allow you to touch my body and examine me. That is the basis of consent. Of course, you need like 3 hours to espouse what consent is. And if you are to do anything to a person without their consent, either surgery or examination, then that's a legal suit. Because that is a battery, that is harassing them, that is assault. And that is the basis of the word consent. Confidentiality, on the other part, is when you go to a healthcare provider, there's a lot of information you provide to them of a private nature, of a personal nature, that you keep in your mind only. And if it is to be known by a third party, you'll feel very violated, because that is personal. So the doctrine of confidentiality safeguards that information that you give to the doctor. When were you born? What do you like eating? What do you do? What part of the body? That is secret to everyone else, but you let your doctor know.
For purposes of a proper
assisting
diagnosis.
you, right? Because if you did not give information, then it will be very difficult to treat you, because doctors are not detectives. They have to work with what you tell them. So then the information you give them must then be protected by the law. So that it's not going to be discussed in the evening, in someone is having a beer and says, hey, do you know what Marianne told me? So you're not going to do such kind of things. So that's confidentiality, and it's cardinal. A breach of that, of course, is unacceptable. Negligence, on the other part, refers to the competence of the healthcare worker, whether they are competent to provide the services that you ask them to. It can either arise because of omission or commission. Something they did not do, or something they did, and it falls below the expected of that healthcare worker. Then you say you are negligent. All right, and from that, then you go and do your suit and proceed to court. All
right. So still sticking with these aspects, the main aspects of consent, of confidentiality, of negligence. What instances, for example, in the doctrine of consent, would you say that consent is automatic, that does not have to be expressly given? Or in which cases, in what instances can consent be breached and it's fine?
Consent.
The same with confidentiality.
In emergency situations, if an ambulance rushes to a hospital, ordinarily you will not wait to be asked to ask the patient, do you think you agree I examine you? Okay, I mean that in itself, that's negligence. If you are going to discuss with a very sick patient, ask them, do you think what's wrong with you? You are the doctor, why are you asking me? So in that case, then medicine is practiced under what we call therapeutic privilege. Because the doctor is treating you, is saving your life, so they have what we call therapeutic privilege. So they will treat you without necessarily your consent, because they are trying to respond to save you. But immediately you're out of that danger, anything else they want to do, then you will have to be involved.
All right.
Yes.
You have to give consent.
Yes.
And in cases of confidentiality, are there cases when it is allowed for a breach to be made?
Confidentiality is absolute. At no time would you want the profession to break the doctrine of confidentiality. Right now, there is a bit of debate about the HIV, or whether a doctor should reveal the status of the spouse to the other party, because then they are at risk. And there's still a lot of resistance where you test a couple and the wife is positive, the man is negative, and you say, I would like to tell the husband, and the wife refuses, and you cannot do much. And a few months later, they all come out positive.
All right.
So there is a bit of fight around there, because that's the only area I see that confidentiality requires to be broken. In other situations, your medical information is yours, so there is no time it should be told to anyone else, unless that information is obviously useful to safeguard the health of the other person. The life
of another person.
Yes.
So as it stands now, it would still be considered illegal for a doctor to release?
In our laws, yes. In our laws, yes. In many legal systems, yes. That private information is yours. And it makes sense, because there is no time everyone demands to know your private life, and you tell them. So why should someone else who you told in confidence oblige that information to other people? And you wouldn't yourself have told them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one about the specific one about the spouse, under the laws that stand today, you would still be...
Doctors won't bother chasing you to go and tell your spouse. First of all, it's too much work. Secondly, you don't want a suit to follow you up. So you probably just let events take care of themselves. But you do understand the events I'm saying to take care of themselves is that the other spouse is going to be positive. So it's a serious event. Although I'm putting it lightly like that.
Lightly, but it's a very serious
event that this society and other societies require to grapple with, and say HIV test needs to be told to people. And mandatory HIV testing, of course, is now in other jurisdictions. Here it will cause a hue and cry. Yeah. People just want to do it privately, VCT and hide and stuff like that, not knowing the dangers that loom.
All right. Right. This is definitely an area that has a whole lot of material that we could discuss. But when we come back, I'd like to talk about, to go back a bit and talk about what caused you to step back, having practiced as a doctor, and go into law. But we'll take a very short break. Viewers, we'll be taking a very short break. We'll be right back.